Welcome to Life Skills with Louie. Today we are talking about the skill of radical acceptance. If you haven't watched the introduction to the reality acceptance skills, please do so. It'll give a helpful orientation. Also, the introduction to the Connecting to Calm videos is helpful for orienting you and giving you helpful information about how to use these sets of skills. And finally, the introduction to the entire video series gives you an orientation to all 5 sets of skills and when to use each one. So I encourage you to watch that. To talk about radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is a necessary skill. It's a challenging skill because the end byproduct of it is ordinary pain, which is not a great goal. But the thing that comes along with it, as I mentioned in the introduction, is a sense of peace. And with that sense of peace, one can be more effective. One can actually take action paradoxically. Radical acceptance is not about giving up. It is not about condoning being harmed, yourself or other people being harmed. And practicing radical acceptance can actually help you to be more effective in making change in this interesting paradox. So what we're practicing here is a set of 3 steps that's a beginning. This is a jumping off point, and I consider dialectical behavioral therapy, where I learned this, the way they describe it, as a jumping off point, because there are many ways to learn about radical acceptance. And I really encourage you to do so. You can simply search online. There are lots of books about radical acceptance and reality acceptance. There's a whole type of therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, that focuses on acceptance. And if this is calling to you in any way, then follow your intuition and explore this more. To begin to go through these 3 steps of radical acceptance. The first step is noticing non-acceptance. This is a process of self-awareness. Everyone does non-acceptance a little differently. Some people are very loud non-acceptors. They will make a lot of noise, and that's definitely a strategy. And so that might be obvious if you're someone who kind of, says very strongly, no, this shouldn't be this way, just fighting realities that don't have an easy solution. Some people are very quiet non-acceptors. They sort of pull in, withdraw, and sort of seethe in an inner way. That's another way to do non-acceptance. You have to get to know how that shows up for you. You're looking for the ways your mind fights situations that have no easy solution, because that's where we use radical acceptance. For pains that have no easy solution, be they emotional pains or physical pains or painful situations in life. So step 1 is noticing non-acceptance. Step 2 is committing to acceptance. This is a process. Many times this involves a dialogue with the non-accepting parts of you. You cannot force this. This takes time. The major selling point is the sense of peace, because the constant fighting and the constant tension inside, it is tiring. And when you're already dealing with the pain anyways, and then you have the tiring tension on top of it, there is a selling point to be made for this peace. But you have to dialogue, and you can look within the Getting to Great skills about dialogue restructuring if you want some tips about inner dialogue and where to learn more about that. So commitment. Step 2 is commitment to acceptance. This may take time. When you've gotten some buy-in internally, some sense of commitment to acceptance, then the third step is turning the mind. Turning the mind from non-acceptance to acceptance. There's no one right way to turn the mind. You have to find your own way with it. And as I said before, I do encourage you to explore more readings and teachings about acceptance, but ultimately you really need to listen to your own intuition about what works. It could be anything, not anything, but it could be many things. So, um, what might really help you is journaling. Maybe you notice that practice just turns your mind to acceptance. What might help you is some kind of um, relaxation practice or prayer. Any of the skills could be your way to turn the mind, or something totally different. Or it may just be some inner process you realize how to do. But the third step is turning the mind. Now, the final bummer with radical acceptance is that it's not a one-time thing. Once you've done these 3 steps and you've brought your mind into acceptance, it will inevitably return to non-acceptance. And you have to repeat again and again, hundreds, thousands of times. What this does, though, is this is building new pathways in the brain. The road of non-acceptance is currently perhaps quite wide and easy to walk down. And the path of acceptance is like a jungle where there's really very little path. Every time you turn the mind in practice, you're building that path a little more, you're walking it more, it becomes more trodden, it becomes wider and easier to go down. So this one takes work and repetition, as most of these skills do, but it is very effective and useful. And that sense of peace is worth it. So good luck on your practice of radical acceptance.